Hello and welcome to Your New Jersey. I'm Lisa Marie Falbo. On today's show, we meet Republican candidate for New Jersey Governor, Jack Ciattarelli. I sat down with him at his favorite diner in Bridgewater to get to know him better as a person beyond politics and to give voters a sense of the man behind the campaign. Jack, we are at your favorite New Jersey diner. Right?
Well, all six. When you're running for governor, all 600 diners are my favorite.
Well, you picked this,
But today,
yes.
this is my favorite diner.
How come? Why are we here in Bridgewater?
Well, this is the closest diner to my home, Raritan Borough, where I grew up, and I know the ownership here very, very well. Food is great, ambiance is great, and I know half the people that walk in the place, it always feels like home.
Yeah, it does. I mean,
feels
you were like a rock star walking in today.
Wow.
Well, I just want to say you have a very busy, insane schedule. We'll get into that. So thank you for meeting me at the diner.
No, thanks for making the time, particularly here.
Yeah, I mean, you have been nonstop, not just this election cycle, a few election cycles. How do you keep going?
People ask me that all the time, and what I say is when you get out amongst people, including yourself and your crew this morning, the customers we see, that energizes me. And when people get excited about what could happen this year in New Jersey, change, that excites me. So all that energizes me. And there are a couple of things that I do to take good care of myself. We always try to get 6 to 7 hours sleep.
How though?
If I'm in bed by quarter 11 o'clock, and I'm not getting out of bed till 6 o'clock, I can get my 6 or 7 hours. I do a mini Pilates workout in the morning.
Okay.
That keeps me kind of going. Eat right. So yes, I'm spending a lot of time at diners, but it's not always a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Stay away from the hard liquor.
Yeah.
I'll have a glass of wine or a beer now and then, but stay hydrated. You do those things at 63.
Take us through a typical day, like today, for example.
There is usually an 8 o'clock meeting or an 8 o'clock breakfast with people who are influential in the community that you really want to get on your side, or with donors. And from there, we'll go do a couple business stops, as we did yesterday, small business in particular, all around the state. Today, we'll have a lunch with donors. This afternoon, I get to speak before the state Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, which I'm really excited about. And then we'll do a couple more stops, business stops along the way. The business community in particular, Lisa, I want them to know that I'll be pro-business, that my administration's been will be pro-business.
Yeah.
Ciattarellis have been here for 100 years. 3 decades of us have all been business owners. And it's business that drives our economy. And I want people feeling confident again that this administration will listen and put forth pro-business policies. That's really, really important to me. And then there'll always be an evening event. Last night it was before 400 people in Union County. Tonight will be before a smaller group in Morris County. But you got to get out there every day and press the flesh. And that's something I'm really happy to do.
Who plans all of this for you? Tell me about your team.
We've got a magnificent team. There's a dozen people that work full-time on keeping the whole campaign very, very organized. And we are. You know what's really important to me? It's overlooked. You'll hear this a lot of times if people are late or they're missing meetings, which we are never late. We don't miss meetings. These guys want to run government. They can't even run their own campaign. No one's ever going to say that about Ciattarelli for governor. We've got about 24 very dedicated, competent people, 12 of which are on the payroll, another 12 of which just donate their time to making sure that this train runs on time every single day. And you can ask the staff. One thing that I'm neurotic about, maybe it's the CPA in me, my parents' genes, on time. We run an on-time machine, but I want people to feel confident that when we win this thing, people know we can run their state government.
Absolutely. So what, you wake up in the morning and you get your schedule and then you just go, or do you have a say?
No. It comes out the night before, but it's usually determined at least 4 to 6 weeks in advance. That doesn't mean that we won't pivot for something really, really important if something comes up,
well,
like today.
Yeah.
So today we had to move a couple things because I think it's really important for me to get down with our folks, the local elected officials in places like North Plainfield that were really hit hard by the recent rains that caused the flooding. And let's be clear, that flooding isn't just caused by the heavy rains. That flooding is also being caused by all the overdevelopment that's taking place in our rural suburbs.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big issues this year, overdevelopment.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the weather has just been so weird over these past few years, right?
It really has. And the weather has definitely changed. I think Mother Earth is sending us some powerful signals. But we have to stop with all the overdevelopment. It's causing more runoff that can't be handled by our storm water management system. Yeah. And that's why you see this kind of flooding.
Let's take it back to your Jersey origin story. You said 100 years of Ciattarelli's in the state of New Jersey. Where did it all begin?
A little over 100 years ago, my father's parents immigrated to Raritan Borough, this little 2.5 square mile town of 5,000 people, pretty much an Italian enclave, only because somebody from their village in Italy, Valentano, which is in the Tuscany region, preceded them here for reasons I don't know. But how very fortunate I am. It was a magnificent town in which to grow up. It was a middle class, very much Italian town. And, you'd go to you'd leave at 8 o'clock in the morning on your bike, go to the park. And when the bells rang at St. Bernard's at 4:45, you knew you had 15 minutes to get home or you were in trouble. And back in those days, trouble meant trouble.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We have the Italian thing in common. I know from my grandparents, yes.
Dinner was on a table at 5:30. We sat down as a family. Sunday dinner, you could never miss. That was usually at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon with the gravy that my parents had
Sauce,
made.
you mean.
In our house, it was gravy. And we don't fry our meatballs, we bake our meatballs, and it's never been pasta, it's always been macaroni.
Macaroni, yeah.
But it was magnificent, it really was. And so my grandfather worked his way up out of the ditch. He started out with the water company and became a very successful independent contractor. My father came late in life, so that business has been sold by the time my father was an adult. My dad was a 38-year union pipe fitter for public service gas distribution out of Plainfield. My mother worked midnights on the line for Johnson & Johnson.
Wow.
But for about 10 years, in the 60s and 70s, they also owned and operated a restaurant bar. Today it's known as Espo's in Raritan. Great family-style Italian restaurant, 12 seats at the bar. It sat about 60 people. It was magnificent, and they had a really good run there. My mother worked midnights. She ran the restaurant bar by day. My dad worked by day. He ran the restaurant bar by night. And every dime they made went to their 4 children. And
well, that's where you learned all the multitasking and just going 24/7, right?
Absolutely, and particularly from my mom. Because in those days too, and though my father helped out more than most men of that era, she kept the ship running at home too.
She was ahead of her time.
She was ahead of her time. She really was. And my father always credited her with the type of upper middle class life that we could lead because she went to work. And I got to tell this story.
Yeah.
So it's the fall of '67, and there's 4 little kids at home, my 3 siblings and me. And my mother says, J&J opened up a plant right up the street, and I'd like a little extra money for Christmas for this year. I'll just go work for them, for a little while. And my dad said, well, how are we going to do that? And she said, well, there's a midnight shift. I'll go in 11 at night. I'll get home at 7 in the morning. It's right up the street. And I'll get the kids off to school because my dad had to get to work. And my dad said, okay, for a little while. Well, that lasted for more than 20 years. Wow. She was extraordinary.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
So growing up, seeing how hard your parents worked, what were your dreams and aspirations during
Well, first of all, and I really appreciate you asking about my parents. I mean, no 2 people were of greater integrity. And their work ethic was off the charts. And they were selfless.
Yeah.
And the other thing that always impressed me about my parents is there's nothing they wouldn't do for their neighbor, the community, the state, or the country. Never expected anything in return because they felt the country gave them the American promise, opportunity, and they took advantage of it because of their hard work. It's all they ever wanted. And I'll never, my parents were the type of people who says, when people ask you how you're doing, just say great. People don't want to hear your problems.
It's true. It's true. Well, that's the Italian too. You don't want to give away too much.
But they were just so selfless and very generous people. And it was all about family. Yeah. All about family.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that your mother passed last year.
It was a good run, Lisa, 93 years. Yeah. And there isn't a day that goes by I still don't think about my parents. My dad died in '88. My mother last year. They almost worked too hard, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because my parents and my grandparents were in business for themselves, we all ended up in business for ourselves. My sister's a very successful title search business. My brother was a very, very successful auto towing and recycling business. I went into the publishing business.
How did you get into publishing?
So I knew you were going to ask that. And I'm going to make it as brief as possible so as to not be boring. But I excelled in math. So my dad, being a very simple man, said to me, you should be a CPA. And I did everything my father told me to because I idolized him and I trust him implicitly, of course. And so I loved accounting as a student, really loved it, but I hated it in practice. And I'll never forget what he said to me once. He said, and by the way, if you become a CPA and you don't like it, you're going to get to see something nobody else gets to see. And I said, what's that? He said, everybody else's books. Sure enough, I'm
Oh,
doing the books for a family-owned publishing company, and I'm seeing the books, and I'm saying, I got to get in that business.
wow.
So I ultimately went into that business, and
What did you publish?
I published doctors, like a lot of other professions, need to get continuing education in order to maintain their license to practice. And so I published a journal that dedicated itself to educating lifelong learning for physicians
Very cool.
so they can maintain their license to practice. And we published that and started that in the early 1990s with a good friend and partner of mine, and we sold that in 98. Then started a business again in 2000, and I sold that one in 2017.
Wow.
So I'm a third generation of Ciattarelli that has really achieved the American dream right here in New Jersey. And not to be long-winded, but when people ask me, why are you running for governor? I really feel strongly about this. 3 generations of us have achieved our American dream right here in New Jersey. I want today's New Jerseyans and future generations to feel confident they too can achieve their American dream right here in New Jersey.
Where did the idea of public office come about?
So when I came home from Seton Hall University with my MBA CPA to Raritan, the mayor of the town, Anthony DeSico, was a friend of my parents, their generation, and I'll never forget, he came over to the house one day and he said, Jack, your family's been here for 100 years. You've all owned businesses in this town. MBA, CPA, we could use that kind of expertise. You ought to run for council in town. And I've always been a curious sort, and I said, my goodness, the town my grandfather immigrated to, what an honor this would be for my family. So I did it. That's how it happened.
And you just caught the bug. You just loved the rush.
Well, you know what I say when people say to me, what are you doing in politics? It's if you genuinely like and care about people, this is the greatest business in the world. If you genuinely like problem solving, which I do, I'm a CEO. I love problem solving. This is the greatest business in the world. And the third thing I'll say is when something I love is broken, I'm determined to fix it, no matter what it might be. And right now, New Jersey's broken. It can be fixed. Leadership matters. So that's what this campaign is all about.
Yeah. How do you block out the naysayers, the negativity, the people, smack talking you? I mean, you're human. That has to affect you.
We're all human, but you realize you're never going to get 100% of the vote. What I always do is listen, because that dignifies and acknowledges the respect of the other person who opposes you. It's not a pretty business. When it's played by indecent people, it can get downright ugly. But I just always focus on the positive aspect of this. What am I trying to achieve?
Yeah.
And I've been very, very fortunate. I mean, I ran twice in Raritan and won. I've always term limited myself. 10 years later, after I get out of politics, they recruit me to run for county commissioner. And I do that. I run 2 terms. I win twice and do 2 terms, leave politics. Then they ask me to run for the state legislature. And I think I know why they asked me to run, because I win elections. And I think I win because the town, the county, and the legislative district in which I served had way more Democrats than Republicans each time.
Oh, wow.
And it's not because I'm not a proud Republican. It's not because I'm not conservative by nature. I am. I go out and talk about what are the problems we're up against today, and here's how I think we should solve them. And when people hear ideas, they get excited. Yeah. When they hear somebody, the greatest compliment somebody could pay to me sometimes after I speak to a group is they'll come up to me afterwards and say, are you Republican or are you Democrat? And I'll say, did you like my ideas? And they say, yes. It doesn't matter.
That's a good way to look at it. So this is your 3rd crack at the governorship. Take us through the first time you ran. That was the 2016?
That was 2016 and 17. And I just felt very strongly at the end of the Chris Christie era that we needed a clean break. And no disrespect to Chris's lieutenant governor, who was going to run for governor, I didn't think that was a clean break.
Yeah.
And so I challenged her in the primary and learned a whole lot from that campaign. It's not easy to run for statewide office the first time. There's a lot you don't know. But I'm proud of the campaign we ran, and it was close.
The second time, you came very close, and you shocked the world.
Well, we were in it to win it, and I thought we were going to win it. And so I believe in New Jersey. I really do. Why? I won twice in a town, twice in a county, and 3 times in a legislative district where Democrats outnumber Republicans, sometimes significantly. What does that tell you? At the end of the day, people will close the curtain behind them, and at least 51% will vote their conscience. And again, that's not to say I'm not a proud Republican. I am. This is a competition. And I'm fighting to not only win, but to have coattails for everybody down ballot. I do believe a change in the legislature would be healthy for New Jersey. Democrats have ruled the state for 25 plus years, and change is good. So here we are. But I really thought we were going to pull that one off. As I said, we were in it to win it. We're going to win this time.
Just paying attention to the media side. I mean, our race in 21 got no attention, no media attention. It was just after the fact that you almost unseated Murphy is when people started paying attention. And I think that's why now national eyes are on this race.
Very much so. There are only 2 governor races in the country, as you said, us and Virginia. And because of, I like to think that we were the spark that lit the fuse in 21, the closest to that race, that people are now saying New Jersey's in play. You know what people forget? I know you don't. The last Republican presidential candidate to win New Jersey was George Herbert Bush in the mid-1980s. Over that same 40-year span, New Jersey has elected Republicans to the governorship 6 times. We've won 6 of the last 11 governor races in this state.
Wow.
So think about that for a second. So, you know, while we may not be voting for the Republican presidential candidate over the last 40 years, we've been electing Republican governors. We've won 6 of the last 11. And I'm pretty sure we're going to go 7 for 12.
Yeah. How do you get the message out? Because the media landscape in Jersey, there's us, like there's a handful of outlets. You know, we're so shadowed by New York and Philadelphia. So how do you break through the noise?
So you just touched upon something I often mention, that we've always kind of suffered from an identity crisis in New Jersey because the northern part of the state's in the shadow of New York City, southern part of the state in the shadow of Philadelphia. And but we're a powerhouse unto ourselves, and we're not going to play JV when I'm governor. We're the varsity. And we're going to deal with that identity crisis by flexing a little bit here and competing regionally and nationally in a number of different ways we currently don't. That's some of my priorities.
Like what? How do you?
Well, for example, you know, just this morning I commented on the fact that because of our energy policy, Phil Murphy bet it all on wind. My opponent is all about wind and all about solar. But that's not going to satisfy our energy needs. Pennsylvania is celebrating $90 billion in investment in the data centers that are needed to support AI. New Jersey's not getting those data centers because we don't have enough electricity. That's an economic development opportunity, not just their construction, but their operation. Those are the jobs of tomorrow. Are we or are we not going to compete? Pennsylvania's lowering its business tax from 10 to 5%. That's under a Democratic governor. We just raised ours from 9 to 11.5, the highest in the nation. Do we or do we not want to compete? I've got to grow this economy. By growing the economy, we create more opportunity for everybody. And so those are some of my top priorities. But to answer your question, because of what you said, we've only got one TV station per se, NJTV. I'm not talking about what you do. What you do is great. We've got one newspaper that isn't even in print anymore.
I know.
Star Ledger is now strictly online. And so, yes, we'll be on the New York and Philadelphia media markets with our TV ads. We'll be all over radio. We'll be on the billboards. But there's only one way you're going to win this election. You have to get up and down the state every day and press the flesh. So the diner tour is a hell of a lot of fun. But you know what it also is? A magnificent way to shake hands with New Jerseyans every single day. Yesterday we hit 3 diners. Today we'll hit 2 more. And we go and visit small businesses and we go to community events, and you just got to keep shaking hands, looking people in the eye, tell them what it is you're going to do when you're governor. And that's the way you win the election, in my opinion. That's what drove us in 2021. And if it wasn't for that damn pandemic, we would have won. Not easy running for governor when there's a shelter-in-place order. It truncated the whole campaign. I really believe if we had another month, you know, it would have made a difference.
Well, before we wrap, we're going to do a little Jersey rapid fire.
Oh, I love it.
Really just like try and get to know your Jersey favorites and everything.
Gravy.
It's great. Well, that's a whole Italian issue that you're not going to win.
And it ain't pasta, it's macaroni.
All right, ready to go? Warm up your voice. Okay.
I mean, locked and loaded here.
All right, locked and loaded. Favorite Jersey Shore town?
Oh my goodness, Surf City, where we have our home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Our close second will be Point Pleasant Beach, which is where my parents would pile us all in the station wagon, spend a day at the beach, for $1 get a cold shower, put on some nicer clothes, and walk the boardwalk at night.
Favorite Jersey sports team, even if they have an NY in their name?
Yankees.
Yankees. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
But listen, I'm not a huge hockey fan, but I love that the Devils are New Jersey's professional sports
Absolutely.
franchise.
Absolutely. They
Yeah.
didn't leave us like those people in Brooklyn, right?
No, and my finance chair had a lot to do with that. Jeff Vanderbeek. He
I
made sure they
know.
stayed right here in New Jersey.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And built a beautiful center in the
And he
heart
was
of
part of
Newark.
that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why the Yankees?
So, you know, my father was a very proud Italian American.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of Joe DiMaggio and Phil Rizzuto and Yogi Berra, we rooted for the Yankees.
Yeah, of course. And they've continued the Italian
Yes.
legacy with Joe Torre.
And because my father was a Yankee fan, I'm here today.
Why?
Because in the summer of '49, my mother from Brooklyn, Bensonhurst,
Mm-hmm.
came out to Martinsville to stay at her uncle's chicken farm over the weekend with her 5 sisters.
Oh.
And they would go down the road and sunbathe at Watchung Lake. And in that summer of '49, my father had a $2 bet on a Yankee game one day, took his little transistor radio and went up to Watchung Lake to listen to the game. And guess what happened?
Met your mom.
And a year later, they were married.
Wow.
So all of life, Lisa, is a miracle.
Yeah, it really is. Oh, it's beautiful to watch. And favorite New Jersey artist, music artist?
Well, Frank Sinatra was originally from New Jersey.
Our birthday triplet.
December 12th, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so Frank Sinatra. I've got at least 50 of his albums, still listen to him. And you know what gives me great? I remember Sundays in particular when I was making the gravy and we were all just hanging around the house, I would play my Frank Sinatra albums.
Yeah.
And the kids would be going, "Oh, Dad, come on." Guess what they play these days? Frank Sinatra.
Yeah. He's making, he will always be legendary. And the fact that he's 1212, you know, well, you're a math guy. I am not. He had the best quote about our birthday. My birthday was 12/12 because God knew I wasn't good with numbers, so he gave me one number to remember. Doesn't apply to you, but it applies to me and applies to Frank.
I'd never heard that.
Yeah.
One of his other quotes I enjoy so much, and it is, he says, "The best way to get back at those who oppose you is to be successful."
Yeah. The best revenge is massive success. I love that. I love that quote.
Are you part Sicilian?
Yeah.
That's why you used the word revenge and I didn't.
I'm half Sicilian, half Calabrese. So that's the Sicilian side of me. Favorite New Jersey food?
Oh, pizza. Yeah, and I'm going to offend a lot of people with what I'm about to say, but I'm always honest. Anchovy pie, no cheese.
Oof.
Oh, it's delicious.
My husband would love that.
Well, let's get together. And you know where we have to do it?
Where?
The place 1 mile from here, in my hometown, they got a 9.4.
Oh, from Barstool? Wait, what's it called?
DeLucci's Pizzeria.
Oh, wow.
Brick oven pizza. They're on their 4th generation of DeLucci. And it's a magnificent brick oven. And I just love that pie.
Wow.
Especially with a glass of Chianti.
How did you even discover that?
My father.
Oh, really? That was his go-to.
Well, the other thing my parents would always say, the reason why there's no cheese, which I do enjoy it that way, my parents would always say, "You don't put cheese on fish." That was
It's true. You go to Italy, they get offended if you do that.
You see, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Favorite New Jersey exit off the Parkway?
63,
63.
Long Beach Island,
How come?
Surf City.
Oh, true. Surf City. True. Okay. Jack, this was so much fun.
It was so much fun.
Best of luck to you.
I appreciate that,
You
Lisa.
have a very busy fall ahead. We're going to be in the mix
Great.
with all of that, so we'll see you at different events, the debates.
Looking forward to
That
that.
should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. But this is great for New Jersey, and I hope they enjoy the ride. I hope they're paying close attention. There's a lot at stake.
Yeah.
There's a lot at stake.
Jack, best of luck to you. We'll see you out on the trail.
See you on the trail, Lisa. Thank you.
From his early life in New Jersey to the values that shaped his decision to run for office, Jack Ciattarelli's story is one rooted in family, community, and a passion for the state. Our conversation at the diner gave us a closer look at who he is as a person and why New Jersey means so much to him. Thank you for watching another episode of Your New Jersey. I'm Lisa Marie Falbo. We'll see you back here next week. Next week on Your New Jersey. So you're loving life in Washington, you're getting a lot done, but now you turned to being governor of the state. So what inspired you to run for that office?
So I am really proud of the work I've done. in Washington. In fact, I was told early on that, you know, Mikey, if you're here for about 20 years, you can really make a difference. And I remember thinking, wow, I might not be here in 2 years, right? This is a tough, you know, this at the time was a tough seat and working hard to hold it. So at that time, I got to work, and in only my second term, I was named the most effective member of the New Jersey delegation because of the broad coalitions I was able to build. But Congress has gotten more and more difficult to work, and we've seen less and less get done. And I started to feel that it was governors that were going to be able to truly serve the people of the state very well. And they're pragmatic. You know, that the fact that the buck stops with governors. So you've got to get stuff done. You've got to deliver for the people of the state, or you won't be in power very long. And that was really, and is really, attractive to me. I want to be able to deliver for people in New Jersey to the best of my ability. I think being governor is where that will happen.
It certainly will, because we need that help.